Hello and welcome to the channel. Let me plug in a mic just so we can see if we can get a better sound quality. Let me know if you can hear me. I'll plug this in. All right, so we've got some really exciting topics to cover today. I'm really looking forward to doing the channel today. So we have the main topic that I want to cover is going to be Venus on the North Node, which is today. They're making their most exact at 10 degrees. That's happening literally right now. This is at 1. So yeah, at 1 o'clock, Venus and the North Node are both at about 10 degrees, 47, 44 of Gemini. So there are some specifics that we can talk about with Venus in the sign of Gemini and the North Node being in Gemini, because that gives us this sense of a style or an overall flair. The sign tells us about a set of it's like an adverb in the sense that it tells us how the planet is doing a certain thing. So Venus is always going to be our receptivity, attraction, allure. It's that flow of energy that goes this way. It's how we magnetize things to us, has to do with femininity, has to do with abundance and resources and the fruitfulness of Earth and our fruitfulness. And then in the sign of Gemini, that tells us the way in which Venus will be having the expression. So Gemini is a shapeshifter, a trickster, a character that has a flamboyancy and high intellect. So intellectually stimulating. Venus in Gemini is very flirtatious, loves to be like a honeybee gathering, or I won't say a honeybee, but a bee gathering nectar and flitting around. It's like the social butterfly we call Venus in Gemini. And that's just, Gemini is just giving us that overall style or the overall way in which Venus will be expressing. And then we have the North Node in Gemini, which this is about an 18-month period where the nodal axis will shift from sign to sign. And so while the North Node is in Gemini, this is, first of all, North Node is about our progress, evolution. It's where we're going. The North End is the unknown, the mysteries of the unknown, in the sense of we haven't done it yet. The South Node on the opposite end of the North Node is where we've already been, what's already taken place. This is our roots, ancestry, what we know, what we can read about the North Node as an occurrence that has already taken place. And it's also gets us pulled back into a habitual, repetitive pattern. Whereas the North is the opposite of that. The North is always opposite South, and it's going where we have not gone yet with the wisdom from where we've been, but ultimately we have to take a risk and step into this unknown territory of the North. So today, with Venus on the North Node, there is an evolution of Venus. We're having to take a step into this unknown territory with our physical body, with our senses. Venus represents also our senses, our Venus system. So I think about our heart and the way that it moves and undulates, that blood pulsing through our body, and how the senses inform us of things that don't have rationality. So if I walk into a space and I feel the energy of the space. This is my body's senses, the wisdom of my physical body giving me information. Now, there was a time in history when this sensual information would have been highly valued, and there are still little niche areas where they actually do hire the psychic to give them that extra sensory information. And those are very high profile jobs that intuitives and psychics, ooh, let's talk about intuition next, where they would get, I have some clients who hire me for readings who would never say that they hired me for a reading. It would never happen, because it's for information that is big. It's big business, big movements in their life and career and marriage and, all of that. So it is a known thing amongst a higher echelon of people, but for the collective, it's like, oh, it's just a joke. That it's just made, it's a mockery, that it has no validity, because those people in the higher, it's not really a higher thing, but they don't want us knowing this information. And in ancient times, astrology, the one who told the dreams, the one who was a prophet, they only worked for royalty. They only worked for that. I'm calling it this higher echelon, or this, you might say, the elites, something like that. And as spirit and science split, as astrology and astronomy split, as everything became two things, one of the right masculine and the left feminine, once those split, everything that had to do with the feminine got completely made a joke of and became encrusted, encapsulated, enslaved. And where we're at now, Venus on the North Node, we're really having an opportunity to remember that our senses and this information of astrology, prophecy, intuition, tarot, the tarot, that these things actually were so highly valued that it was something that we were cut off from, and then had it made into a bad thing. White is right. And I remember this about when I worked in service, the salt and pepper. White is right. So we put that on the right side and the pepper on the left. And this has just been ingrained in our consciousness, so that anything that is not white is black, the darkness. My grandmother used to say that we needed to be home before the sun went down, because that was when the bad energy came out, that it was an evil energy, the darkness. So this also, that it stretches more into moon as well as Venus. But today, with Venus on the North Node, this is really what's being felt in our bodies. And Mystic and I were talking this morning a little bit, and we both were mentioning how I slept. I woke up and I went to sleep 2 more times and had full length dreams, and got up at like 9. Eventually got up, and she also was saying that she also slept like that. So what does that even have to do with it? Well, I think what it has to do is that our physical body has another agenda. It has this inner wisdom that today, especially, it's being highlighted, that we can no longer allow the right, the capitalism, the patriarchy, the information that's coming through mainstream media to determine how we live or to define the set of principles that we must live by. So we all have our own unique cultural things and the ways we move and talk and dance and pray and eat. And we can no longer do it in the way that was given or told to us to do. Like, who says you have to have breakfast first thing in the morning when you wake up? And who says dinner has to be at a certain time and that we need to be awake for these hours to work and these hours? There's a lot of hours that it's dark out. You don't have to sleep in a certain pattern that you were told to do. Like, so all of these things are coming up for re-evaluation. Now, that re-evaluation of our philosophies for life, this also comes up with Jupiter being in Pisces right now. So I want to talk about that next. But before that, let's look at this intuition thing. So we were often told and taught that women were more intuitive than men. And actually, when we look at feminine and we look at masculine, intuition goes on the side of femininity as a trait. So intuition is not a trait that can be placed by gender or by the receptive feminine energy or the directive Mars assertive energy, because there are different types of intuition, number one. And although it is a receiving, like we do receive an intuitive hit, as people will usually, you'll hear people call it like that, there are different ways of receiving that. So I guess in that sense, the receptive part, like you have to be pulled back slightly to receive anything. But I do want to mention that each of the elements of fire in the east, water in the south, air in the west, and earth in the north, all of those have a different way of being intuitive. So, for instance, fire, intuition of fire is a direct knowing, or what we call gnosis, where there's no reason to know it. There wasn't, you didn't touch, you didn't taste, it just, bam, it was there and you knew it. And it doesn't need to be here. It could be bam, you felt it, or not felt, but you knew it from this flame of this inspiration. And then water, this is my primary way of knowing. The water intuition is what we mostly associate intuition with, which is a washing over, an emotional inner knowing from dreams, from emotions, from that, from the body's rhythms. Like, that's what I think generally when people say intuition, they're associating it with that quality of water. Then we also have air. The intuition of air is through the ethers. It's through thought. So we often think if we're thinking that's not intuition, but actually people who have an air intuition, it does drop in as a thought. It drops in as a sentence. So there are words involved. My mother, for instance, has a grand Air Trine. So the grand trines basically tell us that there's an overemphasis on this certain element, and we call it a gift. The gift always can become a curse if you don't know how to use it. But air is being practical and thoughtful, and it's a thinking kind of intuition. Earth intuition is very solid in your bones. You know it. It can be very stubborn because it's so grounded and solid. It is ultimate practicality. I know I mentioned practicality with air, but I want to remove that because it's not so much practical in the air realm of intuition. It's more like it's floating around and you catch it in a way. Whereas with earth intuition, it is more practical, grounded in the body. It's like, I know it in my bones. That might be something that earth intuitives will say, that they know it in their bones. Okay, so now to get into Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter has to do with our philosophies. And I got hit with this major awakening when I heard this phrase that I'm about to share with you. Philosophy, philo, means love. Sophia is the goddess. Sophia is that unknown feminine mystery. Philosophy originally meant love of feminine mystery or the unknown. It's hard to put, so everything that has to do with the feminine mysteries is so hard to put into a word. It's so much like the 12th house in the sense that it's numinous. Ooh, that's a good word, the numinous. So love of the numinous. It's the love of what is impossible to define. This is like our fertility cycle. It's like this piece of information that I also got in a class once with my friend Marissa. She was talking about, I'll just make a little sign for uterus and then the fallopian tubes, and that there's a little space between the tube and the egg. And that whenever there was like a moment of choice as to whether or not that was going to be fertilized or not, and that that there's a space there. So space itself, the spaces between things, relate so much with that goddess wisdom or the feminine wisdom or the numinous, the unknown. So within our fertility cycle, if you've had kids or you've had pregnancies or you've had even just having a period, that it's so mysterious as to why did I just not have a period for 2 months? And then why did this is one thing I've recently heard, why did I always bleed at the full moon and then suddenly there was a eclipse and now I bleed at the new moon? So it's a mystery, and philosophy, philosophia, originally meant love of that mystery. So with Jupiter represents our philosophies for life, what we consider true and what brings us joy and jovial. Just thinking of Jupiter makes me feel like a big sunshine. It kind of feels like the beginning of Teletubbies, where this big, ridiculous sunshine just emerges from this beautiful prairie land. And, it's like all the opportunities in the world are available to you just because you're here on Earth with Earth. So, okay, Jupiter it has been in Aquarius. I still feel like it is in a way because we're just tiptoeing into Pisces. And that happened, I think it was May 13th. We tiptoed over to 0 degrees Pisces. Jupiter did. It's at 1 now, at 1 degree. And by July 28th, it will go back into Aquarius, where it will remain until December 29th. And then from December 29th until May 20-something, 2022, then we'll have our actual experience of Jupiter in Pisces. But we're getting a little taste of what that is now. So I've kind of described a little bit of Jupiter. This also is good luck. It has to do with enlightenment. It brings the light. It is known in India as the guru, who removes darkness through illuminating. It is through illumination that darkness is dispelled, which is what a guru is, the one who illuminates. So it has to do with enlightenment. Now we don't have a caste system here. Well, we probably do actually, but it's just not so out in the open. Ponder that one. So in India, when there is the guru, it's like this is the person you go to dispel light, but we have that guru within ourselves. And it is the part of you I think of as like your higher self, your enlightened self, the part of you that is your future self, that already knows and has like, it's like when something goes wrong and you're just like, you kind of laugh and you're like, oh well, what else can we do today? Like, okay, it's that part of you. Jupiter, it's more expressed in some people than others, and the people who we say are lucky, they always are lucky. Good things happen. They have a benevolence about them. They probably have a strong Jupiter quality, or a strong Jupiter, we can say, maybe on their chart, they have a strongly placed Jupiter. And what does that mean? Jupiter is with the moon, Jupiter is with the sun, they have Jupiter in the first house, something like that. We all have Jupiter. We all have that enlightenment, that enlightened being within us. So don't feel like you don't. You do. It's just really about accessing and pulling that out. And a lot of the rituals and things that I'm writing a book. I've been writing this book for like 3 years and I haven't gotten very far on it. So anyway, it's about activating these archetypes within our body. So rituals for passionate living through activating these different archetypes within our physical bodies, because we think of them as in the sky, if we think of them at all, but they're actually exactly replicated within us, every single archetype. So to bring that more out, we want Jupiter. We want to be joyful and jovial and happy. And it's not that fake happy that you're just like, because I'm happy. It's like, oh, I'm just telling myself I'm happy. It's like actually finding what that joy within you and then bringing that all the way out to the surface. Okay, so there's Jupiter. Now let's look at Pisces. Pisces has to do with dissolution of boundaries. Pisces is all inclusive because of the point that it does dissolve the, so here's me and there's you. Pisces dissolves the boundary that makes us think we're separate. This is why we think of empaths related with Pisces, because now we're in the same space and I can feel you. I feel your pain. Actually, I feel your joy. I feel your whatever it is. And that makes changes in my physical body and in my knowing. And I'm resonating with you. This is Pisces. So let's talk more about Pisces. Pisces is also unconditional love. It's like the bodhisattva who chooses to stay on earth to reincarnate until all sentient beings are enlightened. Because in that teaching of the bodhisattva, unenlightenment means suffering, because we are so attached to things, our identities, our loved ones, our house, our car. We get so attached to those things that it actually causes suffering. So the bodhisattva makes this vow to stay until all, so there's, you can see the martyrdom in that, makes a vow to stay in this cycle of samsara, or the cycle of death and rebirth, until all sentient beings are enlightened, to reduce, remove, and end all suffering on earth, in humanity, in not just humans. So it goes beyond, it's like all insects, all beings in general. So Pisces is also associated with the martyr, who is like, I'm doing everything for you. So it's very selfless. And in that selflessness, this is where we find a trap of Pisces to be. There's this term called think it was called the sin eater. And there's another fancy word for that, but basically, um, who will just digest the sins of the mothers and the fathers and take on all of the pain and suffering and digest that in their own body. So Pisces is also associated with viruses, strangely enough, um, because of that sense of something that's powerful that we can't see. It has no boundaries. It doesn't choose. Jesus Christ. I think you're talking about Pisces when you say Jesus Christ. um, I think of Jesus Christ actually with Pisces, but I also think of Sagittarius with Jesus and Leo because there's definitely that flame of, that sacred heart. So where was I with I was talking about the boundarylessness. Oh, sin, the sin eater. Okay. Wow. And then crucified. And then, so yeah, that whole story, I can see how that definitely fits in with the Pisces archetype. So, also, who was the other Pisces archetype? Mother Teresa. And you can just see the sense of selflessness, but also, I can't quite put my finger on that. It's an emotion of, like, I'm here for you. Like, I'm not here for my own pleasure. There's no Venus qualities involved. Okay, so this is where the difference is, because Venus also has to do with, this is personal love, personal relations, and the Pisces kind of love is impersonal love. It's transpersonal, not impersonal, but transpersonal. So when we look at Jupiter in Pisces, and all that, we are only getting a little glimpse of this. So I really don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't have a strong sense of, because we're not really we're tiptoed into it now. And the overall feeling that a lot of people have been mentioning and that I can also attest to is this feeling of weightlessness, um, a lot of sleeping, a lot of feeling, it's like ungrounded in a way, um, and having this sense of like bliss. I would say there's like this bliss. And then also, let's look at this. Jupiter in Pisces gets us into our intuition, which is where we started this conversation in when I was talking about Venus and the different expressions of femininity and the ways that we would experience our intuition. So, having Jupiter in Pisces really brings this feeling of needing to trust our bodies, knowing more. And this is where we get stuck in bed, because now it's like everything's good. There's nothing I need to do. Although there are things we need to do, but it's like it doesn't feel the urgency that we feel when Jupiter is in Aquarius. There's more in Aquarius, there's more of an urgency for evolution, for innovation. It's more active in the sense of doing things. Whereas once we move into Pisces, it's more about the reality or the truth of unity, and that truth of dissolution of ego identity, which is a huge topic that's coming up for a lot of people right now. I've been feeling it, I've been talking about it, and then also I'm noticing other people also talking about identities, appropriation of cultural identities, how much we believe our identity and how that belief gets us stuck in this false sense of who and what we are, which limits us. For instance, if I say, I've never said this, I've never said, I'm a healer. Because although people have called me that, people have, oh, she's a healer. And I'm like, ugh. I'm also a tantrika. I'm also a magician. I'm also a prophet. I'm also a channel. I'm also a mother. I'm a lover. So all these I am statements, Pisces dissolves them all and says, you are, period. And so when you are, what is there to do? And this is the problem, I feel like, not a problem. In Ayurveda, they say that ego is called ahamkara. Ego was given to us to play this game of Maya, or the illusion of separation. I call it the wound of separation, because while it is an illusion, it feels so real, and we're able to hurt each other and be hurt. Although the soul, the spirit, is never hurt. It's all just an experience. So ahamkara is the I self. That we call, actually in India, they call the I maker, meaning the I in quotes that this makes believe, it makes pretend that this reality, or the Maya, the constant play of Shiva and Shakti dancing, ahamkara, your ego identity self, makes it all seem real. So therefore, I would get up in the morning and be like, I need to make the chocolate. I need to make the tea. Oh, and Brandon's kitchen needs to get boxed and prepared. And oh, I have a massage today. Actually, I did have a massage today at 1, and at 1:15, my client texted me and was like, I guess we'll reschedule. And I was like, oh, okay, the I that thinks that I am responsible for, and okay, this is a hard one, because I also have a strong Saturn uh, complex. And part of me is like, there is a part of me that feels responsible for the doership in my life. And also in Jupiter in Pisces, or the reality of Pisces, is that everything is perfect. It's happening for a reason. And also for that client who was ready to get his massage at 1, there was something more for him to experience that I cannot be responsible for. This is what happened. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have a thing to do every Monday at 1, and I must have forgot to block my calendar, and I didn't realize you were scheduled. What else can I say? I'm already here doing this. And so the ahamkara believes that it is responsible. That's the I maker, the ego identity, feels that it is responsible for all these things, which, we do have a level of an ability to respond to life. Ultimately, are you responsible for anything? You know what I mean? You have an ability to respond, but ultimately, the responsibility for life to continue and move on without you, with or without you, is not on you. So let me read some of these. Sin Eater, yes. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with this. I love you. I missed you here at the beginning of this, because I was like, oh God, is anybody feeling me? Exactly what I've been feeling. Okay. So this is Jupiter in Pisces. It's getting us to dissolve our sense of ego identity, that ahamkara, the I maker. It's having us to dissolve that back into soul, spirit, 12th house reality, the collective consciousness, which includes, it's all inclusive of all the infinite possibilities. And while we have this little glimpse, I want to repeat that, what I just said. It includes all infinite possibilities. So now that we have this little glimpse of time where we are Jupiter in Pisces up until July, I think it's July 28th. From now through then, we have this opportunity to dissolve our I am statements. Whatever you have said I am to. I am, oh, this is a big one. I am a mother. And I am a single mother. That actually was a huge one for me, that in 2018, I started taking trips. My son was 5, and I had never slept a night alone. I had never slept a night. We hadn't been apart. He was 5 the first time we slept apart. And for the next 2 years, I took a trip every 2 months. I was consistently being gone. And there was like this feeling of dissolving my identity as I am a single mother. And what that did was also allow my son's father to become a parent. Because before that time, he was the fun dad. He was uncle. I called him Uncle Dad. Uncle Dad means you babysit. He also identified as a babysitter at one point. I was looking for somebody to babysit, and I was going to give them, I had like 3 trays at different yoga studios for memberships. I only need one. So I was giving away one of my yoga memberships in trade for a babysitter. And Kailash's father actually was like, I'll take it. And I was like, no, you will not take my trade for the yoga membership to babysit our son. And so I think that me dissolving my I am a single mother also benefited him in a way that he's still unable to see because he's so mad about it and angry at me about it. But now it's allowed him to forced him actually to step more into a role of a parent as opposed to being the fun uncle babysitter. So whose responsibility is it for your I am statement? So while we have this time, Jupiter and Pisces, those things are being reevaluated. I feel like that's it. I don't even know if I have anything left to say. That's so huge. You know what I mean? Let me look at this chart a little bit because that just hit me like all these I ams. Okay, I would like for you, let's just do this homework. I'm going to do it too because this is a new energy that we're all in. Let's make an I am statement where we are going to first list out all the things that we have identified with. Ooh, the first one that comes to mind, I am a mixed woman. I hate that. I am not, what's mixed? I used to get called a mutt. I used to get called a niglet. I used to get called all these things for being, and it became an identity. I am mixed. So I couldn't fully identify with Black, with Indigenous, with white. This I am. So let's write these down. I am. And the gnarly ones, like don't go to the spiritually evolved ones yet. We'll work on that. But just to begin with, your I am statements. I am this. I am a woman. I am a whatever your religion might be. List out those I am statements. And then just, going through the process of listing them out, even mentally, I haven't got the pen and paper yet. It's giving me chills of like, and then so what does that identity container, because that's what it is. An identity is a container where we contain ourselves in. I am a good person. So what does a good person do? Does a good person flip somebody off? When I'm driving down the road and, my thing to do is blow kisses and wave because that's my version of flipping somebody off. It's just as irritating. But does a good person do that? So then if I think I'm a good person, but I'm doing these things, you can see the conflict that comes up. If I am a healer, but I can't heal myself because I have this problem and actually I haven't even been motivated to do anything to heal myself, what does that say about me and how do I feel about my self-identity container if I'm acting in these ways that are conflicting to my I am statement? So we're going to write those I am statements out. After you list them out, just take a minute and reading over them, and you can make this little mark where a little carrot off to the side and start listing out what all of that means. Because all of those I ams it's just a sutra. It's just a thread of a meaning. But that I am statement has a whole host of other things that you are secretly or unbeknownst to your intelligent mind, your body is taking on all of those identities, and it puts you in conflict. It's constantly putting you in conflict because I am a woman, but right now I'm telling this person what to do, and I'm being the direct leadership role. Is that what a woman is? And then so am I really being a woman? You know what I mean? And it's unconscious because it's happening at a cellular level that doesn't even make it to your mind. It makes it to your dreams. It probably makes it into your dream realm, but are you even paying attention to that? Okay, so that's the homework. We're going to just identify our I am statements. We're going to go through and make little bubble lists of what all of, like, the sutra of the I am statement. What does all of that encapsulate for you? And then I would like, while we have this chance, short moment of Jupiter in Pisces, let's burn it. Ooh, let's dissolve it. Let's get a cup of vinegar and put the I am statement paper in the vinegar and let it dissolve. Because we can dissolve those I am statements to really become more of who we really are, which would never fit into that statement because it is so much larger. And I think this dissolution will allow us to have a taste of what it is we really want to be feeling in our day-to-day reality. And then once we're able to feel what we want to be feeling in our day-to-day reality, we will pick the things to do that get us into the feeling. Now, what we've been doing and we've been fucked on is doing things and hoping that it's going to bring this feeling. But what we're doing now with this dissolution process is getting into the feeling. Your body already knows what it wants to feel. So getting into the feeling and then picking the activities, the places, the people, the music you're listening to, the things you're watching, the things you're scrolling through. Then you pick what it is that you want to do based off of where you already are with your feelings. Okay, I love you. Mystic says we're going to use ammonia. Fuck yeah. Where do you even get ammonia? I'm getting ammonia. This is great. So, okay, with our ritual that we're doing with the solution of our I am statements, we're going to use ammonia. And Mystic is going to tell us where to get that. Not pneumonia, ammonia. I actually have to get rid of the I am a single mother thing because I am not anymore. And not getting rid of that mindset is not good for my marriage. Okay, so I want to talk about this just for a minute here because, Venus is rising. Venus is on the North Node right now. And so and you had mentioned this. This is something that you talked about in that message you sent me today. So okay, first thing I want to say, this is a personal share, a brief personal share, that the beginning of my being a single parent of 3 kids, I was very angry about it because I did not want that. I was cool with a single parent of 2. I chose that. I chose to get a divorce. I chose to be a single parent of 2 kids. The third kid was like, please, please, please don't have an abortion. Have this baby. I love you. I want to be with you. I've always wanted to be a father, blah, blah, blah. And then as my belly grew, he grew more distant. As things, I was like, this is real. He was like, I can't. And he left before he even left. And that was really the hardest thing that I ever experienced because I thought we were like, thought we were going to do it together. So I was mad. And when I would say I'm a single mom, I can't. It limited me in a lot of things. Like I have to take my kids to school. I can't do this other thing. When in reality, there's a handful of ways your kids can get to school safely that don't require you to give up a portion of your life. There's ride shares. There's other moms that live in the neighborhood who could walk your kids. There's so many different things. But the I am statement had such a grip on me. And there was anger behind that I am statement, which catapulted me into this. I can't go on a date. I'm a single mother. I can't take a yoga class. I'm a single mother. So it just, so I had to really, that part of that dissolving, 2018, dissolving that I am a single mother, my income went up. How? I was taking trips every 2 months. My income went up every year since 2018 by a lot. And I know it's inappropriate to some people to talk about things like that, but the number is $10,000 every year since 2018, that point that I decided to dissolve my I am statement about I am a single mother. How, when you're taking a trip every 2 months, how do you make an extra 10,000 every year? That's crazy, but that's what happened. So this is real magic. It's like putting the intention and the focus and the energy and taking actions that match. This is, again, we talked about this in the last channel, where you get your mind, your body, your heart, and your pelvic energy, or your ability to flow and move through life. You align all of those things up and you're focused on the thing. That is actually magic. So if you're all and thinking a thing and doing another thing because your I am statement has you pulled in these different directions, you're not going to be very effective. You're not going to be making a very big impact on your own life and on the lives of those that you are entrusted or are entrusted to you, your children, your pets, the people that you work with and for. So, oh yeah, that's the I am a single mother thing. And then this is another part of that was like, what does a single mother do? That's a lot of fucking hard work to be a single mother. You're up in the morning making breakfast. I personally would do my workout, my yoga practice, my meditation before the kids woke up, make their breakfast, pack their lunch, get them to school. I would go to work. After work, pick them up, get them set up, do some more work, come back, do their dinner, read their bedtime story, give them a bath, get them in bed, and hopefully get some good sleep myself. That's just one day in the life of a single mother. And so there's not a lot of space for like, hey, friend, would you mind picking up the kids today so I can such and such? Like that didn't even exist. So let's see. Okay. And there's this other thing, Venus rising, that I wanted to talk about because Venus is on the North Node right now. And this has to do with all of our doings, all the things that we're doing. Venus is the ultimate in receptivity. What can you do for me? That's unheard of in our culture. It's not what you can do for it's not what your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country. Well, actually, it is also, what can you do for me? We're in this relationship. We're sharing space together right now. What can you do for me? Where can you enlighten me? Where can you take some of my struggles or my challenges? Go ahead and ask that question. What can you do for me? Let's evaluate that in our relationships, because Venus and women, I'm not saying that Venus and women are synonymous, because they're not. Men have just an active role in their Venus functions, although maybe, who knows? Everybody has a different relationship with Venus and Mars within their own reality. Venus rising. This to me looks like an evolution of our Venusian qualities, where we're going to be able to sit back. Do you always have to grab the door and open it for a person in front of you? Do you always have to volunteer to do a thing? If somebody hits you up and they're asking for whatever, do you have to say yes? Like, give yourself a pause and be like, what does my body want right now? Does your body want, obviously my body didn't want to be going and doing a massage at 1 today. I didn't even, I saw my schedule. I just somehow didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was thinking I only had the 2 people I have in the evening. So did I really want to do that massage at 1? Apparently not. And I have to be okay with that. So, this is what's coming up right now. Yeah, so I am going to stop now. Let's see. We got, okay, thank you. Ammonia at the local stores, at a grocery store. You know what? I'm going to ask my partner to go to the grocery store and pick up some ammonia because I don't want to go to the store. Look at me. I'm cute, comfy, soft. My body is like getting less muscles and edges. My abs are kind of softening. I kind of like this new soft feeling in my body. I don't need to be doing all that. So, anything else? Any comments? I'm stopping before the hour. It's been 50 minutes and I'm feeling very complete. I didn't read the astrology yet for today, but I'll go on Instagram after I get off here and do the astrology. That's mainly it. I mean, really, the only other thing I would say is that today we got Moon in Leo. Moon in Leo. This is our really that statement I just made. Oh, I'm so pretty and soft, and Leo, Moon in Leo has us feeling ourselves. I went through my pictures today, and like on Google, you can go through like look at yourself. I actually really did this. I'm not that person really, but I selected myself and then it shows all these. I went through all these pictures of myself. That picture I posted was actually from 2019. I posted today on my Instagram. And it's like, I'm feeling myself. That's Moon in Leo. I'm feeling myself and I'm saying what I want. I'm being loud. I'm being like a peacock, like showing off, showing out, and being very self-interested. Perfect day to do this I am statement work. Moon in Leo. All right. I love you all so much, especially you, Mystic and Fancy. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to connecting with you soon.